Well, it was after we went off the air on Friday when the Princess of Wales revealed a cancer diagnosis, a diagnosis that came to light after her abdominal surgery. Here's a little bit of the statement that she released.
This, of course, came as a huge shock. And William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay.
So with both King Charles now and the Princess of Wales revealing their cancer status so closely together, it's a reminder that the disease, of course, doesn't discriminate based on age or status, and it also, of course, requires strength and support to navigate. Elizabeth Dalgleish is the Executive Director of Gilda's Club of Greater Toronto and is here in studio now. Elizabeth, I'm glad you're here this morning to talk about this. This is a really important conversation. So now, of course, we have two members of the royal family with cancer diagnoses. Kate's journey, of course, just beginning. Of course, she just found this out after her abdominal surgery here. So when it comes to a young mother, what kind of emotional situations and things are coming up on her journey here?
Well, certainly concerns about her children and how she's going to explain this to her kids. And I think sometimes the question even crosses the mind of whether or not you do explain it to your kids and whether or not you talk about it at all. And I think, you know, one of the things that we do at Gilda's Toronto is to really encourage and talk to families about how they can support their kids through this diagnosis that the parent is experiencing.
Is it age-based? Is it maturity-based? I mean, it must be a difficult balance, right, to try to find what words to say. Yeah,
we do. We actually have support groups not only for the parents, but for the children as well. Yeah. And so parents can do counseling, individual counseling. We call it Careful Steps, where they can learn how to speak to their children in a child-appropriate and an age-appropriate way. And then also the support groups themselves for kids that are age-appropriate and, you know, they're with other kids in the same age category, up to teens. So we serve kids from 4 to 19. And they're not kids with cancer. They're kids who have a parent or a guardian with a cancer diagnosis and a sibling sometimes.
Right. So for the sick parent, the ill parent here, treatment obviously is the priority. But what are sort of the other priorities here that sort of come into play? Because in some cases, you know, you're still raising your family, you know, living at home, maybe trying to work as well. How do those get managed?
Well, I think it's really understanding what your primary concerns are. And, you know, Gilda's Toronto really helps with that, and talking to other people, you know, who are going through this can be very, very supportive. And understanding, too, that, you know, what your primary needs are, how you care for yourself, getting that mental health support, and also being around other people who understand what you're going through is really, really important. And that can really support your mental health as well.
I wonder how important you think it is, and perhaps you haven't had a chance to assess the impact yet because we only learned about this and saw this statement on Friday, but the fact that the Princess of Wales is coming out and talking about it and talking about, you know, the situation they're dealing with and talking about it with her children, how that may not necessarily help you, but how it may help spur conversations perhaps at Gilda's.
Yeah, well, I think that people, you know, oftentimes you have a cancer diagnosis and you're just thinking about, well, how do I get rid of the cancer? How do I get better? And there's the medical side of that, and you absolutely need to, you know, get that treatment. But there's also the mental health part of it, right? And so, you know, we really want people to understand that we are here and you can get support, and that you can get support for your whole family. And that when your family is getting support, the person with the cancer diagnosis also feels better. And we know that there's evidence that shows that, you know, your treatment outcomes are improved when you get that mental health support. So I think that's really important.
So how do people then, Elizabeth, find out about the kind of treatments and supports, and how do people sort of get access to them as well then?
Yeah, so you can go to our website at Gilda's Club Greater Toronto, gildasclubtoronto.org, and you basically fill out a form, and then we give you a call. And what happens is you speak with a mental health professional, and they do an initial assessment, and then we go through a process where you actually get very customized, personalized support services and referrals. And you get those services within Gilda's Toronto, including support groups, there's education, there is one-on-one counseling. We actually have a counseling program that's called Prep Talk, and it's for the person who's been newly diagnosed, or maybe you've had a secondary diagnosis, and you have the opportunity to speak with a mental health professional and identify your concerns, and then prepare for that next meeting that you have with your oncologist. And so you really have clear questions that are the outcomes from that meeting. It's a very, very supportive program.
That's such an important element to your overall sort of care programs, indeed. Okay, Elizabeth Dalgleish from Gilda's Greater Toronto, thank you so much for being here. Really great conversation this morning. Thanks for letting us know.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, so let's get into the world of science and tech right now. And of course, for that, we turn to Dan Riskin every Monday morning, who's going to talk to us about why I'm wearing these glasses. I can't even see anything, actually, at this point. But these are essential because on 2 weeks from today, when we're checking out the eclipse, you're going to need something like this because you can't stare directly at the sun.
Exactly. And the fact that you can't see anything when you're wearing those, it's a good sign that you've got the right ones, because if you can see through them, if they're normal sunglasses, they're not going to protect you against the sun. There's a bunch of stories out right now, especially in the New York Times, about what can happen if you do look at the sun without eye protection. And one of the stories that scared me most was one about a woman who says she only looked at the sun for 6 seconds, but she ended up with a burn mark on her retina in the shape of the eclipse and a blind spot to go with it that she couldn't see out of. So it's pretty serious stuff. If a quick glance isn't going to hurt you, but don't even plan on that. That's not any way to see an eclipse. If you get the glasses, you can look at it as much as you want. If you're in the path of totality, where there is a total eclipse, if you're in Niagara or somewhere like that, when the total eclipse is happening, you can look without glasses. But as long as that sun is shining on your eyeball, it can do permanent damage. So just a reminder to everybody to have plans to either have glasses or to make a box that'll project it downwards so you can look at it that way.
It's funny, Dan, because, Bill Coulter just passed me a pair of glasses that he just got. I actually went to a store and bought, pairs for my family over the weekend here. And there were a couple people in line lining up for these glasses. So people seem to be getting the message. But what you said there kind of struck me, that the woman only 6 seconds. I can barely look at the sun for just 1 second myself. That seems to me actually like a long time to stare at the sun, eclipse or not.
Exactly. And the thing is, there's no rule that ophthalmologists have made to say, okay, if you look for 2.3 seconds, you're okay, but not if you do it twice over the course of a minute. There's no rule like that. Just don't look at the sun, especially during eclipse. It's going to be exciting. Everybody's going to be curious about it. There are ways to view the eclipse, with cardboard boxes and other things, but you really need the glasses if you're going to be looking straight at it. And I just bought a special lens for my camera so that I can point my camera at it. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm definitely doing it the prepared way. And the people in line with you getting glasses and yourself, that's the right thing to be doing 2 weeks out, to make sure you have those glasses ready to go.
Yeah, I know you're part of Team CTV. Bill and I are fronting it for CP24, and it is going to be quite a day here. And that was what I was going to add, is the fact that we had to buy special lenses for our cameras, because it can really just mess up the mechanisms, basically melt the inside of your cameras.
Yeah, it lights them on fire. Yeah, exactly. You point a zoom lens at the sun, and it's like a magnifying glass on an ant, right? I mean, the sensor starts to smoke if you do that. You can't play around.
Okay, you don't want to do that. That would be a silly thing to do, maybe if your brain isn't working so well. But so let's boost our brain here. And exercise, it turns out, Dan, can actually help provide a brain boost.
Yeah, I really like the study. It's out of Japan, and they had people lying in a brain scanner, a special brain scanner that can look at what part of the brain is active. And what they were able to show is that when people are exercising, if they were lying in the brain scanner while they were on a recumbent bicycle that was pedaling, they were able to show that dopamine was released. And they were able to show that people who had the dopamine releases did better on these cognitive tests. So when you exercise, you actually make your brain smarter. You give your brain a boost. You do better on skill testing questions. You do better on IQ tests. And so we're getting closer to understanding that dopamine is the magic sauce that makes that happen.
So Dan, does it matter about the sort of vigorous level of your exercise that you described, being on a recumbent bike? I mean, is a good walk good, or do you have to really sort of be really sweating?
Yeah, what they found is that the more intense the exercise was, the more dopamine was released and the better people did on these cognitive tests. So a good workout, lifting weights or a fast run or something that really gets you sweating is probably going to boost your brain more than something like a light walk around the block. But listen, as long as you're out of your chair, you're miles ahead of everybody else who stays in their chair all day. Yeah,
we do know that life these days is far too sedentary for so many people. So yeah, get up and get some exercise, that's for sure. Speaking of exercising, Dan, another interesting study here. This is about moms exercising, expecting moms. Can they pass on the benefits to their baby, or not expecting moms, mom who delivered, through their milk here? This is an interesting question. I've thought about this myself.
Yeah, this is really interesting stuff. It's a study out of Sweden where they basically took really sensitive chemical measurements of breast milk of moms as they exercised or didn't exercise. They had periods of sedentary, sort of sitting around for several days for the experiment, and then days where they would do lots of exercise, running and stuff. And these are moms with new babies who are lactating. They're making breast milk for their babies. And what they found is there's a hormone called adiponectin that appears in the breast milk. And this is something that under vigorous activity causes the mom to be healthier. It's good for mom. It helps with all kinds of dietary issues. It's one of the reasons that exercise is good for you. And we're seeing the hormone in the breast milk. It's unclear how that passes down to the baby and whether how the baby absorbs it or whether they even do, but it's definitely present in the breast milk, which suggests that for moms who have a new baby, getting exercise isn't just good for you, it's good for baby too.
That's good to hear. Okay, Dan, this is kind of an audible here, but I'm sure you can talk about this here. That severe solar storm that hit Earth last night could make the northern lights visible even further south. There's so much going on above us right now, Dan. It's kind of a feast for the eyes, but what can you tell us about this?
Well, it's pretty exciting, especially with the eclipse coming up, because when there's a total eclipse, what you see is this halo around the sun that's called the corona or ring. Now, corona became a bad word in 2020, but it means crown. And in this sense, there's no coronavirus involved. It's just the corona of the sun. But because solar activity is high right now, we're in the middle of a solar maximum, we could see an especially beautiful corona. This could be one of not just the total eclipse that happens to be close to Toronto, but the total eclipse with the best views of that corona that we've ever had before. So people are very excited about that. It is a really exciting time to look up. Just make sure if you're looking up, you're wearing the right glasses.
That's right, and that's what you get these for. They're like $3 or $4, but they'll save your eyes from years and years of damage, that's for sure. Dan Riskin, we always appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us here, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
Well, this may be a surprising or alarming statistic to many of you, but as of January of this year, there are an estimated 733,000 people in Canada living with dementia.
Oma's Bag is a brand new children's book that can help kids navigate an Alzheimer's diagnosis in their families. So joining us live now to talk about this book is author Michelle Wang. Michelle, thanks so much for joining us. I don't think there is a book out there that really speaks to young children about what might be happening in their family when a family member has dementia or Alzheimer's. And you have a very personal connection to why you wrote this book. So please tell us about that.
Well, my parents-in-law, they live in Vancouver, and they always come and visit us. And a few years ago, when my mother-in-law was diagnosed, they had a visit, and it was a little bit different from how it was before. She was repeating herself, asking us questions, and that kind of stuff. And we would then find things were missing around our house, and we couldn't figure it out, even though at first it was because we were just messy people. So we're like, eventually we found everything in her bag. And so it was sort of a time where we were, what's in here tonight? What did Oma collect today? So it was kind of a fun thing. And then one morning, my father-in-law said to me, I feel like she's slipping away. It was, and I just, at that point in time, I was like, I don't know what to say to him, because obviously this is not an easy thing for him. And I guess I had been writing children's books for the last few years, and it was sort of the idea sort of germinated in my head from that. And the thought that she's still here with us right now, even though she's a little bit different, we can still enjoy our time with her. It was something that I thought that could work really well as a book. And I thought originally I was just going to give it to my family because it was a nice present. But then afterwards, it was like, this is something that a lot of people are dealing with and might be able to help.
So this is your fifth book, Michelle, and you must emotionally you're dealing with this, as a parent and as an adult, but then as a children, is it the fact that you're already teach young children? How did you find the words and approach to sort of help explain to children a very complicated situation and confusing?
Well, I think I've probably read thousands and thousands of books as a child, as a teacher, as a mom, and so I sort of have ideas of how stories work and what kids like, but it was just really our story. And I think that the kids sort of showing the way where, this doesn't have to be so sad. Adults sometimes think in the past and go, this is what she was, and maybe we look in the future and go, this is where she's going. But the kids, they're just like, she's here right now and we can enjoy her right now, and they don't think that. So sad, right?
For sure. If it's a lesson that kids can teach us, it's that, they stay much more present than we do in the moment. And I love how, you incorporated your own kids and your niece in this book. Michelle, unfortunately, we're out of time right now, but I hope people get a chance to read Oma's Beg. It's very special and a lovely tribute to your family, your husband's family as well, and your kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here on CP24 Breakfast. Michelle, good luck with the book.
Thank you so much.
I'm not sure. The zoo will hold my job till the end of the year, and Louise told me that I can move in, which I'm gonna do tomorrow.
Makes sense. What about your family back home?
I'm really not
Well,
ready.
Someone Like You is a love story made for our times where two high school classmates are brought back together after a major tragedy. Joining us live now is Sarah Fischer. She's the star of the movie and a familiar face for all the Degrassi Next Generation fans out there. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so
Hi,
much.
thank you so much for coming in. So this story is based on New York Times bestselling novel Barbara Kingsbury's book, Someone Like You, which I didn't know she co-wrote with her son, who also directed the film.
Yes.
Tyler
Russell.
Yes,
Tyler and
Russell.
Karen Kingsbury, they're phenomenal. They're so great.
So my question is to you is, do you love jet skiing now? Because there's a lot of that in this film, right?
You know what? I do. I actually
Okay.
went jet skiing when I was like 7, and my dad just said I just revved it up and just went. So when they were like,
gosh.
they asked in my chemistry read for this role if I was comfortable being on a jet ski, and I was like, am I comfortable being on a jet ski?
Very cool. Now, the premise of this film is pretty, I mean, kind of, I don't want to say twisted, but it's a bit heartbreaking. So basically, your love interest, played by Jake Allen, he loses his best friend, London Quinn, in a tragedy, we won't say, and discovers that she has a sister through IVF and finds her. And there's this whole moral conundrum about whether or not he should reconnect with her. So what was it like playing, I guess, twins or being two different versions of a person in this film?
You know, it was one of the things I was most excited about when I got the audition, because both characters I fell in love with. I find that they're just incredibly interesting, they're unique, and I saw a little piece of myself in both of them, and it was so exciting to dive into one character, let alone two written by Karen Kingsbury that are just they're such beautiful characters. And it was an interesting challenge, right? Because in a day of filming, sometimes we'd be diving back between Andy and London.
Yeah.
And so there were scenes, and they're two different people, right? So they walk into a room differently, they laugh differently, and we would do a scene sometimes where we would be Andy, and all of a sudden a big London laugh would come in. And Tyler, the director, was so phenomenal, Tyler Russell, at making sure that we were always keeping that fine line of making sure that they've got this similar spark and this little sparkle about them that
Is
makes
the
sense.
same but different.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
for
Yes, it was a
sure.
very fun challenge as an actor, for sure.
Okay, yeah, that's really awesome. And I know that you started singing since you were really young, 7 years old, and also did choir. And you get to kind of show off your singing skills in one of the scenes in this film. So what was that like? Because, your dad in the film, he's also a really good guitarist.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's
Scott
so
Reeves,
good.
He's so wonderful. It was such a blast working with everyone. The cast and crew were so amazing. And yeah, it's so nice because music and singing is such a passion of mine, and so is acting. And when the two kind of come together, which has happened a lot in my career so far, which I'm just so grateful for, because it's such an exciting thing to be able to explore that on camera as well. It was so nice.
Did they write that in for you, knowing that you were such a good singer, or was that in the book that Andy is a singer?
I don't believe that was ever in the book.
Okay.
But it is one of the things they talk about in the movie that, Andy can sing and London can't. So it's one of the fun things where, if I were to sing for a scene as London, it would sound very different.
Right. Exactly, because apparently she can't sing that well.
She can't sing great.
So this was filmed in Alabama and Tennessee, and I think it had its premiere already, like a sneak peek.
We just had the premiere in Franklin, Nashville.
In Nashville.
Yeah.
And how was the reception there? Do you think fans will be happy with the movie, having read the book?
I think people are going to be feeling every great butterfly happy feeling you can feel. And the beautiful thing about Karen and her writing and about this story is that we dive into pretty emotionally heavy material as well, which I think is so important. And the relationships, not just with Andy and Dawson, and of course, London and Dawson, but the relationship with Andy and her family. She's got this family she's grown up with. She's got this kind of new family as well. And it's just a really beautiful story about a love, loss, relationships, healing. And I think people are going to be, I think they're going to need to grab tissues. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're just so lovely and charming and likable in this. Sarah Fischer, thanks so much for joining us. Someone Like You is out across theaters in Canada on April 2nd. Don't miss it. Thanks so much for being with us. Take care.
Thank you so much.
All right, joining us live right now is our friend Andrea Bucket. She's here to share some easy family recipes you can make for Easter brunch this weekend. Andrea, always a pleasure to have you.
Always so much fun here.
Yes, it is. And let's start with what you have for us today, which, you know, I guessed right, is a turkey sausage.
It's turkey sausage. So I know sometimes people think about turkey on the dinner table, but not always on the brunch table. So we are going to make this delicious turkey sausage. And it's easy to do in a sheet pan. You're just going to add some different flavorings. We've got fennel, which makes it a classic turkey flavor, some paprika, garlic powder, a little bit of maple syrup to give it a little Canadian flair.
Yes.
And we're going to do a build your own breakfast buffet for the kids. I know Easter weekend is busy for some people. You're running around, but you can also make it special. So let's start. I'm going to give you a little English muffin. Put that out, and then we're going to grab some turkey sausage for you. And I love it because you could actually flavor this with whatever you like, because turkey is a very versatile sort of protein. It's an everyday protein.
Totally, yeah.
And then we're going to have some eggs here. So again, you could do sheet pan eggs if you want to match the size here, or you could do them in little muffin tins. Which
do you use the silicone ones, or it doesn't matter?
Silicone. You can use silicone. If not, make sure you spray your muffin tin
so
with a little bit of spray.
Okay.
We're going to give you that. You're going to put whatever sort of veg you want in there. We've got some peppers in there, of course, a little bit of cheese.
What's this sauce here?
This is like a little spicy bomba ketchup situation. So we put a little bit of spice.
Okay.
You can mix like ketchup and sriracha together.
Okay.
You can do like a mayo and ketchup, just a different variety of sauces. What else do you want here?
Let's do all the works.
You want the works. Okay,
tomato, cheese.
I probably should have put the cheese on the bottom.
Mama's hungry. Okay, there we go.
Put it all on. There we go. And then you're going to top it off
with the top here.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I find about doing a nice breakfast spread like this is that everyone can sort of pick and choose what they want. I also love to put a colorful fruit salad on the table. You don't have to go crazy with many different varieties of fruit. So think of some contrasting colors. So I love these cantaloupes here, dotted with a little bit of blueberries. And then we're going to drizzle that. I know you have your hands full, so I can't put you to work. We're going to drizzle that just with a little bit of honey and a little bit of lime juice, which really helps to, bring out the flavor. Yes. And then finally,
give it some zhuzh, some zest.
You know what we're talking about here.
I can squeeze the lime.
Perfect.
Do you do that as well?
Yeah,
like that's not just for decoration? Okay.
And then we're going to garnish with some mint leaves. And this sort of just takes this, regular fruit that you have hanging out in your fridge up a level.
Nice.
So it makes it special for a family
No, it's
brunch.
Certainly elevated. Like this is, 5-star restaurant, classy fruit plate here.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you a plate here for your sandwich.
My sandwich, which I am going to bite into. And then finally, Andrea, for a lot of people have really given up alcohol in the new year. Exactly.
Pick me, I'm that person,
and your health, like I bet you can attest to all the benefits of it. So mocktails, in case people are drinking champagne or mimosas.
And there's lots of zero proof alcohols that you can use as well. But if you want to do something family friendly, pick up something like a tropical juice, a nice mixture of different fruit flavors like passion fruit and pineapple. And then you can top it off for the kids with a little bit of sparkling water. If you want to do alcohol, absolutely, you can go mimosa style and use some Prosecco. That always makes people feel special on Easter morning.
Oh, look
just
at
a little
that.
garnish. That's a little pineapple spear there from the top of the pineapple and a little bit of an orange. Yeah, and make it special, right?
Right.
Even the kids. I like to give the kids, I know.
Like grown-up glasses so that they feel part of it?
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Okay, now start paying the bills, kids. That's grown up. Let me try some of this.
Yeah. It's nice and fresh and light, perfect for spring.
Yeah, and that soda water really adds to that bubbly element.
A little effervescence,
like
right?
champagne, not champagne. Wow, these are amazing. So, Andrew, where can people find all these delicious, easy recipes? I will say that's the key word.
If you check out my Instagram, Andrew Bucket Cooks, I have everything there linked at my website.
Okay, amazing. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for joining us once again. Have a great Easter weekend with your family.
I will.
And we will see you again soon.
Happy Easter.